Refugiado quase cego morre de frio em Buffalo, no estado de Nova York, depois de ser liberado pela patrulha de fronteira. Com menos imigrantes nas cidades, americanos reclamam por ter que limpar a própria neve. Dezenas de pessoas protestam após agentes federais deterem um estudante na Universidade de Colômbia. Hillary Clinton afirma ao Congresso que não tem informações sobre o caso de Epstein. Já o deputado Robert Garcia diz que Donald Trump deve testemunhar no comitê. E os Estados Unidos recomendam a retirada de funcionários não essenciais da embaixada em Jerusalém e emitem alerta global de segurança. Tudo isso e muito mais em 30 segundos no Agenda 47.
Com a extensão de cílios profissional, você acorda linda todos os dias. Sem rímel, sem esforço e sem perder tempo. Realçamos sua beleza com técnicas modernas, produtos de alta qualidade e total cuidado com seus olhos. Agende seu horário agora mesmo e descubra o poder de um olhar irresistível. Sampaio Ellen Beauty Studio, transformando olhares, elevando a sua beleza.
Olá, sejam bem-vindos ao Agenda 47, jornal dedicado de acompanhar de perto as principais ações e notícias que envolvem o 47º presidente dos Estados Unidos, Donald Trump, destacando os impactos diretos na vida dos imigrantes e na política americana. Estamos presentes em várias plataformas para que você fique sempre bem antenado e bem informado. Para todos os Estados Unidos e Canadá pela SPT Television, SIC Internacional, e também no nosso stream SPT Plus. Se você ainda não faz parte da SPT Plus, faça agora mesmo. Pega o seu telemóvel, o seu cellphone, o seu celular, aponte para esse QR Code que está aqui do lado e seja redirecionado à SPT Plus. Informação de qualidade, credibilidade e conexão direta com a nossa comunidade, onde quer que você esteja. Em Buffalo, no estado de Nova York, a comunidade se prepara para o funeral do refugiado Rohingya Nuru Amin Sahlan, de 56 anos, quase cego. Ele foi encontrado morto no centro da cidade 5 dias depois de ter sido deixado sozinho por agentes da fronteira de patrulha após sair da cadeia do condado. Autoridades locais cobram explicações e o caso está sob investigação.
Dozens attended the funeral of 56-year-old Nurul Amin Shah Alam in Buffalo, New York on Thursday. The nearly blind refugee from Myanmar was found dead on a downtown street. He had been missing since February 19th, when U.S. Border Patrol agents dropped him off at a coffee shop miles from his home following his release from a county jail.
He did not know English. He did not understand or speak English. He could not walk properly. He couldn't see properly. He was blind. That's inhumane.
They have all the resources for an interpreter. They have all the resources to call his family, to call his son, his wife, anybody that's available from his side of the family to come pick him up. But why did they not ask him? Why did they not call anybody?
Homicide detectives are investigating the circumstances of Shah Alam's death. Buffalo Mayor Sean Ryan said in a statement Wednesday that the incident was preventable, deeply disturbing, and a dereliction of duty by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. He added that CBP's decision, quote, was unprofessional and inhumane. The agency did not immediately respond to a request for comment. But in a statement to the Buffalo-based Investigative Post, a CBP spokesperson said agents dropped Shah Alam off at a coffee shop after they determined he had entered the country as a refugee and could not be deported. The coffee shop was, quote, determined to be a warm, safe location near his last known address. The spokesperson added that, quote, he showed no signs of distress, mobility issues, or disabilities requiring special assistance. One of Shah Alam's children, Muhammad Faisal, said in a text message that his father's arrest last year was due to a misunderstanding with police officers. He said his father had been using a curtain rod as a walking stick when he got lost and walked onto a property of a Buffalo resident who called the police. Shah Alam did not understand police commands to drop his curtain rod, and then they arrested him. He added that nobody informed him where his dad was dropped off upon his release. On Thursday, Buffalo residents gathered for a vigil to mourn Shah Alam's death and demand justice for the refugee.
A presença de imigrantes é apontada por especialistas como peça central em setores operacionais e de serviços essenciais nos Estados Unidos. Dados oficiais mostram que trabalhadores nascidos fora do país têm maior presença justamente em ocupações de serviços, de construção e manutenção. Em meio ao aumento das ações da ICE, comunidades relatam a falta de gente para tarefas do dia a dia e dizem sentir o impacto direto na rotina. Um vídeo que viralizou e foi publicado pelo canal de TV americano WCVB mostra moradores reclamando e expressando frustrações ao precisar lidar com a remoção de neve e com o acúmulo nas ruas e calçadas de cidades.
Fire alarm, we're gonna leg it from here.
We've been left jumping over the snowbanks and kind of crawling and shoveling our way up the main streets. Unfortunately, it's created a significant delay in us actually getting to the location of the emergency just by the sheer volume of snow that's on the ground.
It's like this in much of Fall River. The main roads are clear, but side streets are covered in multiple feet of snow. On Dyer Street, where residents were taking matters into their own hands, this woman beyond frustrated.
I have to pull myself out to go to work tomorrow because I just started a new job and I can't afford to call out. Yeah. It's pretty sad. You pay taxes for what?
They did do that street over there with a front loader, so we're hoping that we get it over here soon.
In the meantime, what about, I mean, you're sort of stuck in here, aren't you?
Yeah, there's 3 feet of snow at least going up the street.
Imagens que circulam nas redes sociais mostram um homem cobrando o mandado de agentes de imigração dos Estados Unidos, o ICE, após eles serem vistos vasculhando casas ainda em construção, perto de Jenks Road, na cidade de Chattanooga, no Tennessee. Uma testemunha diz ter visto os agentes detendo pelo menos 6 homens que trabalhavam nas proximidades dessas casas. O caso aumentou a preocupação na vizinhança e reacendeu o debate sobre até onde vai a atuação de agentes federais em áreas residenciais e canteiros de obras. Especialistas lembram que, em regra, para entrar em uma residência sem consentimento, agentes precisam de autorização judicial. E táticas de abordagens podem gerar questionamentos legais.
Do y'all have a warrant? Do y'all have a warrant to enter this residence?
We're working with them.
I know. Do they have a warrant?
Yeah, they had a warrant.
Can I see it?
We don't have it in our hands. Our
For this
supervisor
address?
does.
Can I see the warrant you have for this address, please?
Call the supervisor. I don't have the warrant.
What's the supervisor's number?
You have to call the ICE office in Chattanooga.
Well, I think that's pretty illegal if you don't have a warrant. What's suspicion of crime?
They fled. They ran.
What's the suspicion? They're brown?
No, we had the
Is that right? They're brown? Is that the problem?
No. I ain't fooling you.
Well, I'm glad y'all aren't wearing masks. At least you have the to not hide your face. Who do you think builds your houses? These are hardworking people. Washington State.
Dezenas de estudantes se reuniram na última quinta-feira, 26 de fevereiro, em frente aos portões da Universidade de Columbia, em Nova York, para protestar após agentes do Departamento de Segurança Interna dos Estados Unidos deterem uma aluna dentro de uma residência estudantil no campus.
Shut it down! ICE off campus, shut it down! Say it loud, say it clear! Say it loud, say it clear! Immigrants are welcome here! Immigrants are welcome here! Immigrants are under attack! Immigrants are under attack! What do we do? Stand up, fight back! Loud, say it clear! Immigrants are welcome here! Immigrants are welcome here! Stop the U.S. war machine! From Palestine to the Philippines! Repress! You're a friend to DHS! How many boots did you like today?
E esta estudante da Universidade Columbia, a azerbaijana Elmina L. Agayeva, foi detida por agentes federais de imigração em Nova York na quinta-feira, depois que uma equipe teria entrado no prédio dizendo procurar uma criança desaparecida. Com mais de 100 mil seguidores e conhecida por vídeos de rotina de estudos, ela afirma que a abordagem foi ilegal. O Departamento de Segurança Interna nega ter sido passado pela polícia e diz que o visto de estudantil dela teria sido encerrado em 2016. Horas depois, a Agayeva foi liberada após uma intervenção direta do prefeito de Nova York, Zohran Mamdani, que discutiu o caso diretamente com o presidente dos Estados Unidos, Donald Trump. A ex-secretária de Estado dos Estados Unidos, Hillary Clinton, afirmou na última quinta-feira a um comitê do Congresso que não se lembra de ter se encontrado com Jeffrey Epstein. Ela disse ainda que não tem nenhuma informação a acrescentar sobre as atividades criminosas do financista condenado e morto em 2019.
I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein.
The former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton denied any personal connection to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and said she had no information to share about his criminal activities after emerging from a highly anticipated deposition with lawmakers on Thursday.
I answered every one of their questions as fully as I could, based on what I knew, and what I knew is what I said in my statement this morning. I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance, but whatever they asked me, I did my very best to respond.
Clinton's testimony lasted 7 hours and was behind closed doors before the Republican-led House Oversight Committee. The committee's Republican chairman, James Comer, called the deposition productive.
I think we learned a lot. There were a lot of questions that we asked that we weren't satisfied with the answers that we got, but we will continue to move forward.
Clinton had a different view of Thursday's questioning, accusing the panel of trying to shift focus away from President Donald Trump's ties to Epstein.
They asked literally the same questions over and over again, which didn't seem to me to be very productive. It then got, at the end, quite unusual because I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet, that was serving as the basis of a member's questions to me.
Pizzagate refers to the false, widely disseminated musings that a pizzeria in Washington, D.C. was a front for a child sex ring run by Clinton. Her husband, former President Bill Clinton, is scheduled to testify before the committee Friday. She told reporters that he will tell the committee that the vast majority of people who had contact with Epstein did not know about the sex trafficking. Earlier in the day, Representative Robert Garcia, the top Democrat on the committee, told reporters that Trump and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick should also testify. Lutnick has admitted to visiting Epstein's private island years after he says he broke off ties. Comer said it was possible the committee might subpoena him. Garcia and other Democrats accused Trump's Justice Department of selectively withholding material from 3 million Epstein-related documents it released to shield Trump from scrutiny.
Where are these files? Who removed them? Those questions have to be answered.
Garcia says that includes records of a woman who accused Trump of sexually abusing her when she was a minor. The Justice Department said it is reviewing whether any documents were improperly withheld and would publish them if appropriate. The department has previously cautioned that the material it has released includes unfounded accusations and sensationalist claims about Trump, and authorities have not accused Trump of any criminal wrongdoing in connection with Epstein.
E Robert Garcia, que você viu agora nesta reportagem, é um dos principais nomes do Partido Democrata no Congresso. E ele pediu na última quinta-feira que o presidente Donald Trump preste um depoimento ao comitê que investiga o caso de Jeffrey Epstein, condenado por crimes sexuais. A solicitação coloca o presidente no centro das apurações e aumenta a pressão política em Washington.
The Department of Justice continues to lead a White House cover-up. And we're going to be demanding, even over these next few days, that the remaining files that have not been released get released to the public. And that includes new files that were just discovered in the last couple days of a survivor that has made serious accusations and allegations against not just Jeffrey Epstein, but also against President Trump, and about abuse that she suffered when she was a minor. And so we should be very clear that now that we're going to hear from former President Clinton, I hope that Chairman Comer and the Republicans will join us in demanding that the person who actually appears more times in the files than the former president, who we want to speak with, is President Donald Trump. And so let's get President Trump in front of our committee to answer the questions that are being asked across this country from survivors and from those who have been brutally attacked and raped, sometimes as children.
Já o presidente do Comitê de Supervisão da Câmara, James Comer, republicano do Kentucky, afirmou na quinta-feira, 26 de fevereiro, que a investigação sobre o caso Jeffrey Epstein não tem motivação partidária. Segundo ele, a apuração não é um movimento contra democratas e lembrou que integrantes do próprio Partido Democrata defenderam que os Clintons fossem chamados para depor.
We worked for 6 months to get the Clintons to come in, and then they acted like they were going to come in, and then they didn't show up. And obviously we moved to hold the Clintons in contempt. And I think one thing that surprised the Clintons, they assumed the Democrats on the committee would vote in a partisan manner and not vote to hold the Clintons in contempt. And what they learned was a majority of the Democrats on the committee either voted to hold the Clintons in contempt or voted present. And I think that's a statement that this investigation is serious. Again, no one's accusing at this moment the Clintons of any wrongdoing. They're going to have due process. But we have a lot of questions. So this isn't a partisan witch hunt. This was a motion, a bipartisan motion supported by the Democrats to bring the Clintons in. So I don't think it's any type of being unfair in any way to the Clintons. They've never answered questions, unlike President Trump, who gets questioned every day by just about every one of you about his knowledge or involvement with Epstein. To my knowledge, the Clintons haven't answered very many questions about Epstein.
Estados Unidos e Irã avançaram nas negociações para tentar resolver a antiga disputa nuclear e evitar novos ataques norte-americanos. A informação foi divulgada por Oman, que atua como mediador em meio ao grande reforço militar dos Estados Unidos no Oriente Médio. Para a Livaz, do International Crisis Group, não existe solução militar para este impasse.
Oman's foreign minister gave a thumbs up after the latest round of nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran in Geneva on Thursday. Oman, which is mediating the negotiations, said significant progress was made and that the two sides plan to resume negotiations soon. The talks come amid a large-scale U.S. military buildup in the Middle East and growing concerns of a regional conflict, with President Donald Trump threatening that, quote, really bad things would happen if there is no deal.
We're either going to get a deal or it's going to be unfortunate for them.
Washington believes Tehran seeks the ability to build a nuclear bomb and wants Iran to give up all uranium enrichment. Iran has long denied wanting a bomb and said earlier on Thursday that it would show flexibility at the talks.
Look, I think the costs of failure are now very clear to all sides.
Ali Vaez is the Iran project director at the International Crisis Group. He told Reuters that a continuation of the talks is a good sign.
If Iran agrees to continuous suspension of uranium enrichment, which is fact on the ground, followed by maybe a much more limited enrichment program that the IAEA would determine is not prone to proliferation and to weaponization, then that would be the basis for an agreement. Of course, Iran would still expect economic incentives, and that would have to come in the form of U.S. sanctions relief. But the parties can get creative, and there could be joint economic and commercial projects that could be defined so that the U.S. could ensure that sanctions relief will be used to the benefit of the Iranian people and not for any other activity that could endanger U.S. interests.
A senior Iranian official told Reuters on Thursday that the two sides could reach a framework for a deal if Washington separates, quote, nuclear and non-nuclear issues. Meanwhile, the U.S. has insisted that Iran's missile program and other issues must be part of the negotiations. Here's U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Iran possesses a very large number of ballistic missiles, particularly short-range ballistic missiles that threaten the United States and our bases in the region and our partners in the region. Iran refuses to talk about the ballistic missiles to us or to anyone, and that's a big problem.
Vaez cautioned that if there was no breakthrough in the current round of talks, the risk of war would go up significantly.
Everybody understands that although there is a military option, there is no military solution to this dilemma. And therefore, a diplomatic option is less costly and more sustainable.
On Thursday, the USS Gerald R. Ford, the biggest U.S. aircraft carrier, left port near the Greek island of Crete bound for Israel, where the U.S. has also sent around a dozen F-22 fighter jets. The Trump administration has not formally announced the deployments. The Pentagon declined to comment.
E uma última notícia, os Estados Unidos recomendaram hoje a retirada de funcionários não essenciais da Embaixada norte-americana em Jerusalém, citando riscos graves de segurança no Oriente Médio. O Departamento de Estado aconselha que americanos e seus familiares deixem Israel enquanto voos comerciais ainda estão disponíveis, após uma escalada de tensões com o Irã e negociações nucleares que não avançam como o esperado. China, França, Reino Unido e outros países também orientaram seus cidadãos a sair da região em meio ao aumento do alerta internacional. Nesta sexta-feira, o chanceler iraniano pediu que Washington abandone exigências excessivas nas conversas diplomáticas, mesmo com relatos de avanços pontuais. Autoridades americanas destacaram que não há motivo para pânico, mas enfatizam a importância de planejar a saída rápida da região. A movimentação ocorre enquanto líderes mundiais e representantes diplomáticos tentam reduzir o risco de um confronto muito maior. E agora vamos para a parte que a gente mostra o que é destaque nas nossas comunidades, os jornais comunitários que mostram o que é acontecimento, o que é notícia aqui nos Estados Unidos. Então vamos agora partir para esse momento de ver as capas dos jornais comunitários. Claro, nós temos grandes parceiros aqui, como o jornal Brazilian Times, que traz sempre notícias diárias sobre as nossas comunidades. Vamos lá, vamos para a primeira capa que o diretor vai colocar. Vamos conferir aqui. Jornal dos Esportes também é um grande parceiro da gente. Governo Trump tranquiliza democratas. A ICE não vai fiscalizar locais de votação nas midterms, que é as eleições de meio mandatos. Alívio para uns, indiferença para outros. Então o Jornal dos Esportes trouxe esse destaque na capa deste jornal. Vamos lá? Vamos para a próxima? Vamos para a próxima capa, diretor? Vamos lá, coloca aí, por favor. Brazilian Times, cabeleireira mineira querem encontrar irmãs que desapareceram após serem adotadas. Isso ela lá no reality, que ela quer participar para usar esse motivo para encontrar os irmãos. Brasileira é detido pelo ICE em Pittsburgh, na Pensilvânia, enquanto filha está hospitalizada com câncer. Ameaça em rede social leva o adolescente brasileiro a deixar o plenário durante o discurso de Trump. Então, esses são os destaques que você vê na capa do jornal Brazilian Times de hoje. E o Agenda 47 fica por aqui, mas logo mais às 7 horas da noite, lá na nossa plataforma SPT Plus, vai estar disponível para vocês o Brasil News, trazendo todas as notícias e atualizações do dia dos Estados Unidos, do Brasil e do mundo, SPT Plus. E claro, se você está nos vendo também pelo canal no YouTube, não deixe de se inscrever, deixar um comentário, se gostou, um like, se não gostou, um dislike. E depois de fazer tudo isso, você ativa esse sininho das notificações para quando chegar vídeo novo você ficar por dentro, tá bom? Muito obrigado pela sua audiência. Logo mais às 7 horas da noite, encontro marcado lá no Brasil News, na SPT Plus. Muito obrigado e até mais tarde.